How to knit the rib check stitch for the loom. For today's tutorial, you will need your knitting loom. Today we are using the Kiss regular gauge knitting loom with no spacers in between the pins and the pegs, your knitting tools, and a ball of yarn. Today we are using Tosh Chunky by Madeline Tosh in the color Whiskers. For this stitch, we will be using the following techniques: knit stitch, purl stitch, and knit below stitch. To begin working the stitch, cast on in multiples of 10 plus 5. Row 1. Purl the first 5 stitches. Then we will begin our repeat by doing a knit one below stitch. We're going to show you a few different ways to do a knit one below stitch throughout this video, and you can choose whichever technique you like the best. For row 1, we'll need to start with the knit one below stitch from a regular purl stitch on the previous row. This will be our base row for the knit one below runs. To do this, grab the stitch you're going to work with and lift it off the peg, holding both the previous stitch and the loose strand in your fingers. Slip the stitch under the strand and set it back down on the peg, essentially transforming the previous stitch into a slip stitch. I prefer to do this for all 3 knit one below stitches in the repeat first prior to knitting the next stitches. Then knit the stitch off the peg. Purl the next stitch. Repeat this twice. Then knit the last knit one below stitch off the peg. Purl the next 5 stitches. Repeat this until the end of the row. Row 2. Repeat row 1, but on this row we can do a little trick to make the next few rows easier. Purl the first 5 stitches as usual. Then when you arrive at your first knit one below stitch, pick up the strand from behind your work and slip it onto the peg to knit it. Knit that stitch off, leaving the stitch below on the peg. Then purl the next stitch. Do this for each knit one below stitch in the row. Row 3. Repeat row 1. When you get to the knit one below stitch, just grab the yarn from the bottom of the peg and knit it off, leaving the yarn on top. Do this for the knit one below stitches on row 4 as well. Row 4. Repeat row 1. Row 5. Repeat row 1, but on this row we're going to end the knit one below stitches from the previous rows and set ourselves up for the knit one below stitches on the next 5 rows. To set up your stitches for the next row, slip the first stitch. I like to wrap the yarn for the first stitch around the pin so that I can find it when I come back across the row easier, but you don't have to do that. Then purl the next stitch. Repeat this one more time. Slip one more stitch. The slip stitches will be knit one below stitches on the next row. You could also purl the stitches as normal and use the technique we used on row 1 to start your knit one below stitches, but I think this is easier. Then when you get to the knit one below stitches on this row, knit both stitches off to end the knit one below run. Repeat this all the way across the row, slipping the stitches that will be the knit one below stitches on row 6. When you get to the last stitch on the row, you'll need to slip that stitch. Again, I like to wrap the yarn around the pin so that I can find it on the next row easily. Row 6. Begin by knitting one below. Because we slipped the stitches on the last row, this will be extremely easy. All you'll need to do is knit the stitches that have remained on the pegs. Then purl one stitch. Repeat this one more time. Then do one more knit one below stitch. Then we will begin our repeat by purling the next 5 stitches. Then knit one below and purl the next stitch. Repeat this one more time. Then knit one below again. Repeat this until the end of the row. Row 7. Repeat row 6, but do the same trick that we did on row 2 to set yourself up for the following 3 rows of knit one below stitch by grabbing the yarn from behind your work that we slipped and pulling it up and over the peg. Then knit that stitch off, leaving the previous stitch on the peg. Do this for all the knit one below stitches on the row. Row 8. Repeat row 6, knitting off only the bottom stitch on the knit one below stitches, just like we did on rows 3 and 4. Row 9. Repeat row 6, knitting the knit one below stitches the same way we did on row 8. Row 10. Repeat row 6. If you're ending your pattern on this stitch, you'll just want to knit both loops off the knit one below stitches. If you plan to repeat the pattern again, you'll want to also slip the stitches that will be knit one below stitches on the next row, just like we did on row 5. Repeat rows 1 through 10 until you've reached your desired length. And that's how you knit the rib check stitch for the loom. Want more loom knitting tutorials? Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and follow our blog at vintagestorehouse.com to get new videos and posts sent right to your inbox. Thanks for watching!